Well, good morning again. We are with the new media world. Uh, we seem to be working backwards from the book of new media and new poetics. We started with, the impact of new media with on the society. Then we talked about last time. I think we talked about new media on language, new media's impact on literature. Those are the things which we talked about in the other previous classes. Today, let us do a sort of a recap of the basic changes that happened to media. And this I have off and on been talking about. So let us have it consistent in one place. You know that there were three basic technologies which brought this change in the communication. One was the satellite, the second was the computer chip, and third was the digitization. The satellite brought the linking, as I told you, the three satellites in the strategic places that brought the entire network working. Then the second, the computer chip was the receiving element. Whatever signals are sent up in the air, it gets reflected in the satellite. It comes back to the computer chip that holds it, and that's how it works in the PC or in the mobile phone. And the third is digitization, which is most important, as you know, that it actually converged text with sound, with visuals, because all three of these senses, they are basically converted into the 0 and 1, meaning from the word, the text, it has now become numerals. So this is another case of major convergence that has happened, and that is why I have told you earlier that the conventional idea of we having two cultures, the one culture is the social science culture, where we deal with words and thought processes, and the other is the mathematical or the science culture, where we think in terms of numbers. Here, with this new technology, it has the number and word, they have come together. It's similar to our research technologies. When we talked about it, we talked about the mixing of the research methods of quantitative and qualitative. The similar thing happened. I mean, at the very basic level, at the technology, at the minutest, the atomic level, these changes have happened in the world itself. So these things are common in all spheres. So this convergence has happened in between word and numbers, and that is basically the digitization that made this possible. Now, very briefly, if we look into the timings of the technological changes in the 60s, the internet was still with the army and the government. As in other cases also, most of these technologies, whether it was radio or the telegraph, all these started with the necessity of the army. And here again, the internet was also with the army at the very beginning, and it was part of the ARPANET setup. The ARPANET was the American military, setup, and from that was there in the 60s. It was with them. In the 70s, the protocols began, meaning those the ways in which the networks took place. Meaning a single computer became 10 computers, and 10 computers became from one place to say, another a longer place, from what they call LAN. Local area network became WAN, the wide area network. The LAN and the WAN, these things, these protocols, these networkings or the connectivity came across in the 70s. And in the 80s, the change started. This change started in terms of from government and from the military. It started changing into becoming commercial and to the people itself. And by the 90s, we were very much into the networked society, the new media society. So that's how, briefly, how the change has happened. And now, as I've told you, how the new media has been changing societies, many of the uses on the society, many of the languages have changed, many of our literature writing processes have changed. Let us see how technologies have also changed in a way. As I've told you, how from networking, from the individual networking, it became individual computers to networked computers, and that's how things happened. And then the next technological change that happened, simultaneously with these changes that were taking place, was the beginning of you can say the hypertext. Now, that hypertext is something which people have said that it is like linking bits of knowledge. When initially the computers dealt with information, but with the hyperlink, all these bits of information was getting connected. And this connectivity is very important. People say that information becomes knowledge when these scattered information are linked together. So, to some extent, this connectivity was, by this connectivity, the net or the new media, contributed towards information becoming knowledge. Kind of thing. So hypertext can be looked into in a different way altogether. You can say philosophically, we can say hypertext added to human knowledge. Now, apart from this change, we need to understand a little bit of the hypertext, then hyper media, then multimedia. The hypermedia as the link, as I said, it was the linking. The hyper media was a linking of one media with the other. Meaning, say from text we have we join sound or with visuals, those one with the other. That was the hypermedia. And then multimedia, when many things were added together. Sound, not only sound and say visuals to text, but we had animation, we had the linkages of videos, graphics. All these were added. So multimedia became, the most advanced form of the linked or connected technology. Now here, this is what they called that the second you can say second media age has arrived, where we have basically, they say we have problematized, we have basically questioned reality, because the arrival of the virtual reality, meaning these multimedia, has made the question, the reality, what is truth, or what reality is. That is a separate question which we have already discussed when we are talking about new poetics. Reality and virtuality. So those are things which new media has made problems for our understanding. I have told you how the human race has been criticized by the philosophers like Baudrillard or Derrida. They say that we now live in that virtual world. We love living in the virtual world or in the unreal world rather than in reality. So these things have happened because of the technology itself. Now, Another thing which we need to understand is the change that has happened in the film industry and the film world. There is a filmmaker and a technologist, Lev Manovich, who have been basically talking about how films originally was to some extent linked to the computer itself. The origin was almost at the same time. He said that during the World War, they were kind of experimenting these things and these things on the digital computer. The computer had arrived, but then how the tape, the tape that they were used was in the computer, the old computer. They used the tape, and that tape was basically a discarded 35 millimeter movie film. I mean, there was a connectivity. What he's trying to show is, even from the very beginning, the digital film. We know about digital cinema today, and there these things have already started at the very beginning. I mean, as I said, that when the computer was being developed, the computer was using that original computers used tapes where it was with holes and poruses where all these tapes were used, and at that point of time that film was basically a discarded 35 film. So the link was always there between digital film and basically the film or a real film. That link was there. But now today, the digital film has taken over, and that is more common. Initially, there were a lot of questions whether the digital film was as smooth or as clear as real film. But then today, those questions are no more asked, because digital film has taken over the entire film industry today. Now, these changes have happened, and a few more I just need to tell you, because this changing technology is something also for you to important that you should understand a little bit in more detail. Now, what I told you, how virtuality had come, how hypertext have come, how it started with the three major technologies. Now, we need to understand a little more about the impact of the satellite and the GIS. In fact, the GIS, some of the critics call it as locative media. I mean, why locative? Because that has changed our concept of location. I have told you earlier that now we live in the 21st century where the author is dead. That is how they described it, the death of an author, where author is thought of just a person who collects information and puts them together. Here again, instruments like GIS and GPS has totally changed our idea of location. And of course, the mobile phone. And with the mobile phone today, you can. In fact, you ask when you hardly you ask hello. You say, "Where are you?" I mean, you can be anywhere in the world. You can be just next door, or you can be just thousands of miles away. And that means that sense of geography is also has disappeared with the changing technologies, with the GPS and the mobile phones. I mean, you can say that not only the author is dead, our sense of geography is dead. I mean, that is the geographical concepts are also changing. Now, in this way, there are ways in which we say, and this is how sociologists have been interpreting, that these ideas of say our rural and the urban has also disappeared. Now you go into the rural India, we say it is India and Bharat, the rural India as Bharat. But now even the Bharat has lot of material which are the new technologies. The mobile phone, for example, there is hardly a village today which does not use the mobile phones. The antennas, the dish antennas, and everything, the connectivity, all these are the technological connectivity. The new media connectivities have changed our concepts of urban and rural today. Though we have these concepts of the smart cities coming up. I mean, trying to make better urbanization, but much of the rural element has entered, or rather, the technologies have entered into the rural areas, have made it more urban, or have taken the urban amenities of the new technologies. So this mixing is the concept of the mixing between the urban and rural has happened with the new technologies. Some people try to say. Take a negative point of view, say there has been a digital divide between the rich and the poor. But on the other hand, as you know, the new technology has, empowered the common man. I mean, there has been much more integration by new media itself. That's one thing. And then our concept, one more point which I would like to add is the concept of the home. The home has also changed. I've told you, you can't, when you are on the phone, you do not know, or you might be talking to your brother or sister living in the US or in UK or in Australia, wherever they are, like any time or anywhere. You just have to understand the times. I mean, don't ring them up when they are in the midnight. You might be in the morning, but they are in the midnight. So you just need to know the global clock, and then can talk to them. So these and these concepts of space, or concepts of distance, concepts of geography have definitely changed. And in terms of the home is today, we can say that we have tamed a lot of these wild, unfamiliar technologies. We have domesticated the DVD players, the computers, the mobile phones. These technologies have now become part of the family. So the new technology has entered our homes and have changed the concepts of our home. I mean, you can't live today without new technology. And the concept of home integrates new technology. You cannot say that I am. At one time, there was a time when I used to say that I would not take. In fact, I personally took the mobile phone much later. I refused to accept any gifts like a phone. Many people wanted me to take that mobile phone, but I didn't take it because I thought it was like a radio collaring. You were always trying to track me where I am. I refused to do it, but finally I found that it is impossible without living without the mobile phone. Today, for example, that I am talking to you, and we are trying to establish this social distancing because of unusual circumstances. But it is the technology, new technology, because of the mobile phone, that we are talking and we are exchanging views and information. That is also, we have made our home also our workplace. So we have tamed the wild technology and taken them home and kept them as our pets. isn't it? I mean, those changes we will have to recognize. So try to integrate this knowledge of new media, and if you are asked to explain how media has changed the world, just don't talk about the changes in literature or changes in society, or you will also have to talk a little bit about the changes in the you can say in the technologies themselves, in the technological world, how the changes have taken place. Okay, any questions, please ask.